Welcome to Finance Leaders Retirement Insights, the broadcast where we sit down with thought leaders in the world of finance who reveal their unexpected wisdom on the issues impacting retirement.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Finance Leaders. Today, we're joined by Wally Darling, another leader in the world of finance. Hi, Wally. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Great. Well, I'm excited to have you on the show today, knowing that you've been in the industry for quite some time, but let's maybe introduce you and your practice to the folks watching today. How did you get into the world of finance?
Well, I started in banking after I got out of service, and in 2008, when the world kind of crumbled in the banking world, I was looking for something I could apply my skill set to that was, related to money, but not necessarily the same thing. And so I started out initially working more in the life insurance side, and then I started doing more annuities, and then I'm ultimately a Series 65 fiduciary. So I've been doing this since 2008.
Was there any particular inspiration that got you into this business? What attracted you to it? I know you were already working with money. Was there anything in particular that you thought, wow, this might be the exciting thing for me to get into?
Well, as cliche as it may sound, every situation is completely different in what I do today. Back, 15, 20 years ago, it seemed like it was the same old methodical, financing, here's the loan terms, here's the amortization, whatever. And so it got a little, monotonous. But today, I can honestly say that, with 1,000 plus clients over that time, I've not run across two clients that are exactly the same. They're all got their little uniqueness to them. And I like that, that my brain has to stay active in developing a specific customized plan for my clients.
Yeah, each new client gives you a new puzzle to solve as opposed to something that was a little bit monotonous in the banking world.
Yeah, I mean, every day I come to work and I just, I'm not really sure what I'm going to see. I know what our areas of expertise are, but I can quickly talk to a client and figure out, okay, this is what your concerns are. This is what your current situation is. And then I can put together, like I said, a customized plan that's going to help them, first of all, become better stewards or educated about their own finances and decisions they're making. But more importantly, just a customized plan is going to get them to retirement and through meeting, retirement on their terms, not mine. It's not Wally's retirement, it's their retirement.
So I'm sure people watching today are probably thinking, what sets you apart from the many other advisors in the industry? You probably have several that are within a 5-mile radius of you. How is your practice unique and, really puts you into that thought leader category in finance?
Yeah, I'm constantly surprised that people run around and they throw this 25-cent word fiduciary around like it's the gold standard. And what I find is, as you dig deeper into most financial advisors in the world, they're not really fiduciaries. They specialize in either annuities or life insurance or assets under management, equities, investing. And they don't talk about all of that plus taxes and legacy planning. And so to me, the holistic approach that we take, addresses every aspect of that for our customers and clients. And I find that, it's really difficult to say that you're doing something in someone's best interest if you really haven't considered all the different parameters that come to bear on a lifetime retirement plan.
So your approach doesn't leave any big gaping holes where maybe a lot of the folks down the road might have a very narrow piece of the puzzle and you've got the whole puzzle.
Yeah, and plus I'm independent, so I'm not beholden. I mean, a lot of times you'll go to these big box, firms out there and they're selling their own, peddling their own products, and it's kind of self-serving. And you'll hear things like, "Well, I hate annuities, and you should too." Well, that's coming out of the mouth of someone that only does securities. And so,
Right.
I'm not beholden as an independent to any particular strategy. I'm kind of agnostic from a product standpoint. My job is to truly look in the marketplace and say, okay, for what you're trying to do, these are the top solutions, education solutions, and let you make an informed decision.
Yeah, I think there's some freedom that you have as an independent firm as opposed to being under the umbrella of a big firm that might want to channel you down that certain path, like you said, to just a securities approach.
Yeah, I mean, and let's think about it. I mean, if you're doing annuities for someone, well, it might be taken away from your ability to make money on the assets under management and vice versa. And so if you're, got that constant pressure to feed your family as a professional, I think that it's a little self-serving. And so as an independent, I've designed it so that I'm completely agnostic. I mean, to me, your plan is your plan. Here's the options. You tell me what you're comfortable with. I'm going to facilitate and help you get where you're trying to go. But, when you walk in my office, I'm not thinking, oh, here comes somebody that needs an annuity, or, oh, here comes somebody that needs to have 70% of their money in an equity portfolio in the stock market. So,
Well, I know for potential clients that might be watching this, it might be stressful or even a little scary to have their financial life examined under a microscope by a stranger for the first time. How do you help those folks feel a little more comfortable having that initial meeting with you and give them confidence that it makes sense for them to see what's possible with a financial expert?
well, first of all, I make it real clear to them that, look, we're just going to have a conversation. I don't need to do a full cavity search of all your statements and everything. If you tell me you've got $300,000 with the IRA, I'm going to take that at face value. Now, if you don't have 300,000, I would tell you that you're kind of, wasting your time by not being transparent. But at the end of the day, I just want to have a conversation, and in that initial conversation, I can determine, hey, this is what I know of the market space. This is what I think I can help you with. I get people that come to me from time to time that say they want help on taxes. Well, if you don't have any assets that are taxable, it's kind of hard for me to help you on taxes. Okay. So, I just tell people, relax. I said, I put my shoes on just like you do. I've got a family and grandkids. And so, let's talk in layman's terms, and feel free to ask me anything, because, I'm going to either know the answer in most cases, or I'm going to find out the answer for you.
Well, and I'm sure people are curious about how you've helped somebody that's maybe had a challenging financial situation and you've helped turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say some of my more pressing situations are people that are thinking that they're going to run out of money. That's number one. Thinking that, hey, I'm not prepared for taxation or increases in taxation. That's number two. Or what happens if my spouse dies? What's the impact of my spouse dying prematurely? So those would be the top three. And so I walk people through, okay, let's figure out, okay, first of all, your income, what's your lifestyle? I mean, if you're going to stay at home and garden and fish, well, that's not very expensive to do that. You don't need as much liquid resources to support that type of lifestyle as opposed to, hey, I want to be on a cruise, 6 months out of the year. All right. So that's a different situation. And some people's resources allow for it, some don't. Taxation. I could go on for hours about the fact that in our country, taxes have to go up. Why? Well, because I tell people all the time, most households, the majority of their money is tied up in pre-tax dollars. And it was on the premise that, hey, taxes were going to be lower in retirement. Well, we're finding out that Social Security and Medicare are virtually insolvent sometime in the next 10 years. And if we don't increase taxes, then we're going to have great reductions there. Then I talk about, okay, I call it a widow tax. If one of your spouse dies, well, you're now a single taxpayer. Well, okay, what does that look like? Well, I can tell you right now in today's tax table, so marginal tax rates, you have a significant increase for every dollar you pull out of a pre-tax account. And so we do plans to get people prepared for that. And then legacy planning, if you want to leave a legacy to the next generation or to your church or charity, we talk about efficient ways to do that. So, we're really well positioned to educate people to make informed decisions and live life on their terms.
Well, and I think that kind of brings up the next question, which is, it's probably pretty exciting for somebody to finally get clarity for the first time in their life about their financial picture if they've never worked with an advisor. How do you help somebody that, is ready to take that plunge, get clarity on their financial life, learn more about what their actual financial goals and dreams are? Because sometimes they're not even clear about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I say all the time, we've heard the saying, we don't know what we don't know. Typically when I'm speaking to a crowd of people, everybody's pretty much heard that saying. But what I'm more concerned about is what is it that we think that we know, and we're walking around every day with a strong conviction of something we think we know that's just not true. Well, at case in point, the last couple of years, the market has been very volatile, and I've seen people come in and have lost 25, 30, 35%. And they think, well, hey, that's just the market. I don't have any choice. Well, my clients didn't lose 35%. Okay. We made 16% a year, even during that situation. And that's because we are professionals and we know what our clients are looking for. And we're also very studious about learning what is working in the market and doing more of that and less of what's not working. Okay, so when people come into my office, oftentimes I just tell them, said, look, open up your mind, listen, be comfortable asking any question. But if you're not going to open your mind, it's going to be really hard for me to inform you to make an informed decision if you're going to be closed-minded.
Well, with the abundance of different financial products and strategies out there, it's really difficult for somebody to be a do-it-yourselfer. It really helps to have an expert that can kind of help you navigate and understand some of these complex solutions and strategies. So I think people probably come to the table with a lot of misconceptions about what's possible, and you kind of address that a little bit. A lot of times they think something is true that's not. What other misconceptions people might people have about, let's say, taxes as it applies to their retirement?
Well, I asked people jokingly, I said, do you think taxes are going to go up, stay the same, or go down? And, in a crowd of, 1,000 people, I might get one or two people that think they're actually going to go down. And I'm like, well, okay, we can talk for hours about how that's not going to possibly be happening, and I can give them real world examples about why that's even today it's not true. Okay, but at the end of the day, I tell people, I said, look, you have to open your mind to some things that you don't know or not exposed to. If you saw something on the internet, well, the internet is to me a double-edged sword. You can, if you're searching for a specific answer to support a position that you have as a conviction, you're going to find it. It doesn't make it right. Just because, you could both be wrong. The internet, where you're searching, and yourself could be wrong. But be open to the fact that, look, I have this problem. I want to trust, and that's a big component of this. I want to trust the professional that I'm working with. And I tell people all the time, if you don't trust me, it's never going to work. I've had clients that come in and through the whole process, they're very apprehensive to the point of being negative. And I just finally said, look, if you can't trust me, then I'm not the right fit. And there's thousands of other people in the Colorado market that do what I do, not as well as I don't think. I'm kind of biased that way, but look, go ahead. If you'd like, I can even refer you to a couple of my friends, because you got to have that trust. I don't have clients that lie awake at night fearful that they're losing their money, and I don't have clients that every time I say something to them, they go home and spend hours upon hours trying to disprove what I told them, because there's basic trust.
Well, it's a long-term relationship to accomplish your financial goals, so you really do need to trust that person that you choose to work with and to be your steward in helping reach your financial goals.
Absolutely. And, the word stewardship, I mean, I tell people all the time, that's why the education is so important, so that you can be a steward of your own finances. I can be a coach and a guide and a resource, but if you're looking for me to tell you every step of what you have to do, that's not my philosophy. I get from time to time, I do get, people, widows that come in that have never had anything to do with money. And they say, "Hey, Wally, here's all my money. Can you take it? And I trust you." Like, well, yes, I can take it and give you a plan, but you're going to understand why you're doing what you're doing, because I think it's an important part of this component that you fully understand why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a good point. That philosophy that you have to help empower the clients to take an active role in managing their own funds, and that you're really there as a guide, a coach, someone who's an expert to give them some direction, but they still have to understand what's happening.
Yeah, and also the communication, feeling free to just ask me. I get questions all the time, a couple ones about crypto, or gold. And on gold, it's like, yeah, if you want to have a precious metals ETF, that's one thing. But if you want a big gold bar, depending upon how many gold bars you've got, I said, how many shavings is it going to take off your gold bar to go buy some coffee? And I said, and furthermore, you better get yourself a really nice vehicle to move it around, and you better have a small army, because somebody's going to be trying to steal your gold. So the world's falling, and I need to put all my money in gold is not a philosophy that I support. I think if you want to have a little hobby collection, hey, that's all good and well, but you got to think through the logistics of what does it mean to have, tons of gold as your wealth reserve.
Yeah, don't want a basement full of gold bars that the passerby might find that is in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, these days, I mean, people will, hijack you for a big gulp or some tennis shoes or something. Imagine what they'd do if they saw you had a wagon full of gold.
Right. Well, one other question I wanted to ask you is, when people are thinking about working with a professional like yourself, how do you help convey to them that you offer something that's unique that they don't get elsewhere?
Well, it's a lot of what we've talked about. I mean, first of all, I have a standardized process. I mean, the first meeting is very high level. After that meeting, I'm going to tell you if I think I can help you. We're going to schedule a second Zoom meeting to educate you. And by the third meeting, we've established a plan to make you a client. And I'm not trying to always do everything for every component of a plan. I need to first make you a client. And so it's typically a three-step process, and I'm going to communicate along the way, and you're open and encouraged to communicate and ask questions. But by the third appointment, you typically should know, hey, do I trust this person? Do I concur with what they're saying? Does it make sense? And do I think this is going to help me reach my goals and belay some of my concerns? If those are the things that happen, then you're going to be a client. If they're not, hey, I'm going to wish you well, and I mean that all, sincerity. If I see you in the grocery store, hey, nice to see you again. If something changes, I mean, the most interesting situation is I saw someone 3.5 years prior to their second meeting, and they went to see 14 other advisors before they came back and said, hey, I reviewed your plan with 1,400 advisors and you got the best plan. I'm like, well, that's some serious due diligence when you went to 14 other advisors.
So Wally, can you share an example where you've had a client that had a outcome where they got significant financial growth or maybe more stability than they had prior to coming to you?
Yeah, so I mean, case comes to mind that, I've had several cases where people are still working away and not happy at their job and they're in their early 60s. And I'm like, well, if I could show you that you could retire on your terms today and not run out of money and meet all your objectives, would you? And they said, well, I just can't. And I said, why? She said, well, I've been told by professionals that I don't have enough money. And so we went through the analysis and found out that based on their lifestyle and their Social Security and their assets, that they have more than enough money and with no fear of running out. But it was a lifestyle situation. They didn't need $200,000 or $150,000. They needed, $60,000, of which $45,000 was coming in the form of 2 Social Security checks. So, it gave me great pleasure that that person went out the next month and actually put in their notice and retired. Here they were thinking they had to work till they were 70, and I retired them about 6-7 years early. So.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably walked out with a big smile on their face after that meeting.
Yeah,
knowing
absolutely.
that they're free.
I said, well, hey, tell your friends, I'm not telling them they can retire tomorrow, but, I'll certainly do the homework and the analysis and see when they can retire.
That's great. That's great. Well, what advice would you offer someone who's considering seeking the advice of a financial professional like yourself for that first time, or maybe if they're already working with somebody, seeking that second opinion?
Well, there's an old saying, it's kind of a rule of thumb. I think it came out of Harvard or something, but, a failure to plan is planning to fail. And so the first thing I would tell you is that if you don't have a written plan that includes an income, a tax plan, healthcare costs, legacy planning, if you don't have a plan that addresses all those issues, risk management, things of that nature, you need to see a professional because you're really planning to fail. There's some people that, they have, $3, $4, $5, $6 million in pensions and all this kind of stuff. They could fail by not having a plan and they're still going to be okay. That's not the norm. Okay. Most people need some kind of plan and understand, okay, this is the lifestyle. Here's the amount of risk I should be taking. Here's my tax plan, all that kind of stuff. And so don't be fearful. Take some action and go have some conversation. If you need to talk to more than one person, feel free to talk to more than one person, but take some action, because right now you're walking around with a lot of probably untruths and misunderstandings or a little bit misguided. And without a plan, you're not going to have the ability to know that when it's time to retire, hey, I can actually retire and do it comfortably.
It's a lot like they say about goal setting. If you don't write it down, it's going to be kind of hard to hit it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of, when you're a runner, they say the first step is putting on your shoes. Well, if you want to have a financial successful plan, you need to start with having a written plan. And, in my practice, I don't charge for initial plans, but at the same time, after about 3 meetings, you're either going to be a client or you're not. I'm not going to drag it out for 6 or 12 or 18 months before you make a decision to become a client. Because, it's not an academic exercise. It's a business for me to help my clients. So.
Well, Wally, it's been fun kind of learning about how your business works and how you help people, how you help them have clarity and reach their goals. Is there anything a potential person out there who's thinking about getting in contact with you should do to get in touch with you?
Well, I would say that, there's a lot of people that do it wrong in my business. Come in, let's have a conversation. Let's see if there's a good fit, if there's some rapport. I know that because I've helped so many people, that chances are I can help you if you want to be helped. So, take the action, get on my calendar. Let's have the initial conversation and kind of go with it from there. I hope it works out. I hope to see you in my office. I do a good vast majority of my initial appointments on Zoom, just because of the world we live in. But eventually, I like to meet people face to face. I still like to, look people in the eyeball and shake their hand. But just don't be fearful. It's your world. It's your plan. Nobody in my office is going to make you feel badly about what you have or have not done. Okay. But if you don't do something, I will tell you that I do firmly believe that you're planning to fail long term.
Yeah, don't procrastinate when it comes to your future.
Yep.
Well, Wally, I appreciate you being a finance leader and taking the time to join us on the show today and learning all about your practice. And look forward to hearing from you again soon.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Finance Leaders Retirement Insights. Be sure to check out our other top advisor interviews at financeleaders.com.